saw kind of a light in the shadows and went over to investigate. She saw kind of a light in the shadows and went over to investigate.
Here we are, brother. I see
on the other side. Man, you really pissed these guys off.
It's me. I can't make lunch today. Oh, shit.
Up here. We got more of those freaks heading your way.
The target is heading your way. Watch that.
Get in the building. I'll meet you on the other side. Man, you really pissed these guys off.
Stay out of my way.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's Holiday. How'd you get away?
I'm not Alice Wade.
Find someplace safe. I'm gonna make my way to you.
The replicas are everywhere. They're using the subways.
Huh. Took you on a little ride today.
All right.
Say that.
We're both still in one piece. I thought for sure you were dead. There's still time for that, I guess. Get in the building. I'll meet you on the other side.
We got him trapped. We got a man down.
Say that.
All right. We're both still in one piece. I thought for sure you were dead. There's still time for that, I guess. Get in the building. I'll meet you on the other side.
You could say that.
All right. We're both still in one piece. I thought for sure you were dead. There's still time.
Say that.
All right. We're both still in one piece. I thought for sure you were dead. There's
Introducing the new SureColor T3170, designed to produce precise D-size prints in just 34 seconds. The newest.
In just 28 years of existence, insurrections, conflicts, riots, terrorist attacks and wars have weakened and divided this country, which is the poorest in the Middle East. Let's retrace on a map since its creation the history of the Republic of Yemen. We begin in 1988 when Yemen was divided in two. In the south, there is the People's Democratic Republic of Yemen, whose capital is Aden. It is the only communist country in the Middle East led by a single party and allied with the USSR. Although the country is vast, it is mostly desert and populated by approximately 2.5 million inhabitants. In the north, the Arab Republic of Yemen, with its capital Sana'a, is an Islamic state. The country has 7 million inhabitants and is more prosperous. As the Cold War draws to a close, the USSR is weakened, causing it to reduce financial aid to South Yemen. This pushes the country closer to its neighbor, paving the way for reunification talks. 2 years later, in 1990, the Republic of Yemen is born. The former president of North Yemen, Ali Abdullah Saleh, who was already in power for 11 years, took the reins of the new country, while the former president of South Yemen, Ali Salem al-Bid, became vice president. Sana'a becomes its capital, and the population is majority Muslim with about 35% Zaydi Shiite and 65% Sunnis. Soon after independence, the country takes a stand against intervention in Iraq during the Gulf War. In response, the West and Arab countries cut off its financial support. Saudi Arabia, meanwhile, harasses the many Yemeni workers on its territory. With the country in financial difficulty and seeing no improvement, Vice President al-Bid leads the charge to regain independence for South Yemen. After a short civil war, the north prevails and the post of vice president is given to the Minister of Defense, Abdrabbo Mansour Hadi. In 1997, a jihadist insurgency begins with Al-Qaeda in Yemen that takes aim at loyalist forces and the United States. The government launches a fight against the terrorist organization. In 2004, Zaydi Shia tribes in the north complain of being marginalized and begin a new insurrection. The rebels call themselves Houthis, which is the name of their leader killed the same year by the army. The group is ideologically anti-American, anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist. In the south, there is continued frustration caused by Yemen's reunification. In 2007 enters the Southern Movement, a separatist political group which participates in the Yemeni revolution in 2011. Encouraged by the Arab Spring, people take to the streets to demand an end to corruption, a healthier economy and lower unemployment. Saleh tries to cling to power but is eventually replaced by his vice president Hadi, who initiates discussions exploring a more democratic restructuring of government. 2 years later, the proposed reforms are weak and the Houthis feel resentful, having inherited no political power in their region. They take up arms and begin the Yemeni civil war, this time with the support of part of the population and forces loyal to former President Saleh, who tried to return to power. Together, they conquer Sana'a, forcing Hadi to flee to Aden and then to Saudi Arabia. The Gulf Cooperation Council condemns what it calls a coup. Against the backdrop of this regional conflict, Saudi Arabia accuses Iran, predominantly Shiite, of militarily supporting the Houthi rebellion. In addition, the country does not want to see the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the fourth most important global sea crossing point for oil, in rebel hands. Saudi Arabia then sets up an international coalition of 9 predominantly Sunni Muslim countries to restore Hadi to power. They receive support in logistics and intelligence from the United States. The coalition begins by bombarding strategic installations while the UN imposes an embargo against the sale of arms to the Houthis and their allies. In July, the coalition takes over Aden, where Hadi and his government move. The focus of the coalition advance shifts to the gates of Taiz. Although the coalition is better equipped, its lack of experience in the field regularly results in defeats and prevents it from gaining the upper hand. When coalition military advancements dry up, they step up aerial bombardment. Civilian populations very often become victims and get stuck in the crossfire. In October, Hayden Hospital is bombed. The UN condemns the strikes and calls for talks to negotiate a peace treaty which would not succeed. In addition to airstrikes, the coalition imposes an embargo on ports and airports controlled by the Houthis. Only aid shipments are allowed, which prove insufficient for the population suffering a humanitarian crisis. As a result, more than 2 million people are internally displaced in Yemen. At the end of 2016 begins a cholera epidemic that infects up to 1 million people and leaves more than 2,200 dead. The UN estimated that 7 million Yemenis, or a quarter of the country, were close to starvation. In Sana'a, Saleh broke his alliance with the Houthis to try a diplomatic approach with Saudi Arabia. In retaliation, he was killed a few days later by the Houthis. In Aden, Hadi has a hard time projecting authority and uniting the locals. The Southern Movement creates the Transitional Council, a secessionist organization that quickly takes control of the city and the presidential palace. The group receives support from the United Arab Emirates, which distances itself from the coalition. The Emirati focus on Al-Qaeda and peddle their influence on the Yemeni island of Socotra, on which they set their sights. In retaliation of ballistic missiles fired at Saudi Arabia, the coalition further intensifies airstrikes, especially in the north. Forces loyal to Hadi attempt to retake Hodeida's strategic port in order to cut off Houthis' access to the sea. In Aden, the Southern Transitional Council strengthens with Emirati support, who had to leave the island of Socotra after an intervention by Saudi Arabia. In the east of Yemen, after many drone attacks by the United States, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula takes advantage of the chaos in the country and strengthens its grip on power. Other terrorist groups emerge into the fray, including the Islamic State. The country is completely divided, and it is the Yemeni population that pays the ultimate price, with more than 10,000 dead in 4 years. According to the UN, the blockade imposed on the country has caused the worst humanitarian crisis on the planet. All this while the sale of arms to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates increases, resulting in big profits mainly for the United States, Great Britain and France.
She saw, I don't know what, in the shadows and went over to investigate.
got more of those freaks heading your way.
The target is heading your way. Watch that.
Get in the building. I'll meet you on the other side. More of those freaks heading your way.
The target is heading your way. Watch that.
Get in the building. I'll meet you on the other side.
guys off.
Shot go! Squad, take cover.
Up here. You got more of those freaks heading your way.
The target is heading your way. Watch that.
Get in the building. I'll meet you on the other side. Man, you really pissed these guys off.
Stay out of my way.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's Holiday. How'd you get away?
I'm not Alice Wade.
Find someplace safe. I'm gonna make my way to you.
The replicas are everywhere. They're using the subways.
Huh. Took you on a little ride, did they?
You could say that.
All right. We're both still in one piece.
I thought for sure you were dead. There's still time for that, I guess. Get in the building. I'll meet you on the other side.
is confused.
С друзьями бесславные ублюдки. Вот, решили познакомиться, типа, подружиться и поехать с ними, как бы, ворваться, погулять, сделать совместную серию. Сейчас поедем на завод.
Завод «Большевик».
Завод «Большевик».
Короче, наши гости, в двух словах, это... ну, короче, они раньше сидели в тюрьме, они по 10 лет все в тюрьме отсидели, употребляли раньше наркотики, а сейчас они полностью поменяли стиль жизни, полностью мышление поменяли. Они, короче, сейчас выступают за здоровый образ жизни, за саморазвитие, за поиск себя, за то, чтобы приносить пользу максимальную обществу.
Ну ништяк. Это круто, на самом деле, что видишь, и таких людей, к сожалению, это только...
Да давай, пиздуй, блин! Посмотри, блядь, что это за хуйня, блядь? Мерзота, блядь.
Ты шо, мразь, сука, мы опаздываем. Оу, кобыла, она едет по телефону, пиздит.
40 километров в час пиздует. Ты шо, да?
Одной рукой мобилку трогает, другой письку чухает. Же на пути.
Да.
В общем, такое, едем сейчас навстречу, встретимся, залезем. И уже продолжим тогда съемочку изнутри. Все, ребятки, мы полезли. И врываемся. До новых встреч.
White J's, white Porsche, white wrist, white horse.
Друзья, у нас уже работает полноценный интернет-магазин supersus.shop. Фирменные шмотки главного пубертата страны. Шапки, сумки, носки, регулярное обновление товара. Хотите порадовать любимого человека классными шмотками или самого себя?
Тоже приятно, взаимно, пацаны. Короче, бесславные ублюдки, канал, чуть что подписывайтесь. Сейчас будете смотреть, все будем рассказывать, показывать. По-любому будет интересно.
Давай в тачечку сядем и скажем, что к чему. Блять, что тут с тебя натекло, блять, на книжку сядь, Саня. Слышишь, на книжку. Фу, блять, это...
Ciao ragazzi, buonasera. 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 Tutto bene? Allora, qualche giorno fa ho fatto un video sul canale vlog ed è stato un video che è piaciuto molto. Ho trattato un argomento particolare, ovvero scienza in cucina, dove la scienza tradizionale, alcuni scienziati hanno fatto degli esperimenti e hanno dimostrato alcune regole di base della cucina. Eppure noi chef, quindi noi cuochi, diciamo, più che chef, imperterriti continuiamo con le nostre cattive pratiche. Perché? Perché vendiamo cara la pelle. Perché siamo testardi, perché siamo cocciuti. No, ci sono delle motivazioni. Allora, in quel video parlavo di due aspetti importanti, particolari, ovvero il primo, la carne, se si chiude o non si chiude, e il secondo è il sale all'interno dell'albume quando deve essere montato a neve. Allora,
I'm Emily, and I'm a level 1 chef.
I'm Lorenzo, and I'm a level 2 chef.
I'm Frank, and I've been a professional chef for 23 years.
I last made this hamburger recipe probably about 2 weeks ago.
I actually just made this cheeseburger a couple days ago.
This is the burger I make for my family and friends, the people that are most important to me.
When I make burgers, I just use store-bought ground beef. Here we go.
This is grass-fed ground chuck. It's about 80 lean meat and 20 fat. The fat is your golden ticket to a good burger.
For my hamburgers, I like to use beef short ribs. It's got a great amount of lean meat to fat. The only problem with it is it's tough. So what we have to do is grind it. I like to grind my own meat because when you go to the supermarket, basically they're just getting whatever beef scraps they have. This way, I get a burger that I know exactly what's in it.
Now I'm just just gonna put some breadcrumbs in. It holds it together, I think, a little better. Next up, some Worcestershire sauce, garlic powder, pepper, salt, chili flakes, because my husband likes everything spicy.
Now that my meat is ground up, I'm gonna form it into patties.
You really just shouldn't handle the meat too long.
I disagree with that.
Fudge.
I like to work it a little so the burger stays together, holds its shape. What I usually do is I work it until it'll kind of stick to my hand.
I'm just gonna kind of like roll these up and then flatten them like hockey pucks.
Then I do the old divot, little dimple in the middle.
I work it into a volcano shape. What this is gonna happen is that when the meat cooks, it's gonna expand a little. This is actually gonna disappear and even out and make a nice flat burger.
Now we're ready to cook some burgers.
I cook the burgers in a cast iron pan. Cast iron pan holds a lot of heat.
I'm using a non-stick fry pan.
Skillet, griddle, flat iron. What I'm doing is cooking bacon. Why? I'm having a bacon cheeseburger.
So when I cook these, I don't really need that much pink inside, just a little bit of pink. That ground meat doesn't really have a great texture when you cook it rare.
I like it medium rare.
I season my burgers with salt.
Salt it right before you cook it.
What happens when you season ahead, salt draws out the moisture.
You want a moist burger.
When I season liberally. It's gonna help that crust form. I have a little beef fat, so I'm gonna take a little bit of fat and just coat the bottom of my pan.
I'll also use the delicious rendered fat from the bacon to cook my burger. Ooh. I'm gonna take these off. You sit over there.
The reason I use beef fat and not something like butter, with a pan this hot, I'm gonna put my butter in the pan and immediately the butter is gonna burn.
Ooh, I might have burnt that butter a little. I think it's fine.
Now I have my patty, I have my volcano in the middle, I'm gonna put the flat side down first.
So I'm gonna give it about 4 minutes on each side.
When I see the lower portion of that burger get dark, crispy brown, flip over.
I'm gonna go as high as I possibly can to start that browning and the crust on the bottom. People tend to start moving things around. Leave the burger alone.
I'm just pressing down on it to make sure that all the meat touches the pan at least a little bit.
Do not press the juices out of this delicious burger, please.
I want a little bit of onion flavor on my burger. I take a nice slice of onion, I'm gonna put it on top.
We're getting a lot of smoke, I'm not sure why.
So I can see that it's nice and crispy. So I'm gonna do the old flip. Oh, it looks good, you guys.
My burger's brown on this side, I'm gonna give it a flip. So you can see, I have a beautiful crust.
Here we go, wait, there you go. Ah, oh, it's very charred. Good. This looks disgusting. Oh no, that's worse. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. Oh, good, the other side's nice and charry too.
There's a nice, crisp outer layer that's been formed. It's sealing the juices in this burger, and I'm waiting about 3 minutes.
So now my onion on the other side is getting caramelized. Caramelization is when the sugars start to go brown. The way that I'm gonna test this burger for doneness is I'm actually gonna poke at it, right? If I poke at it now, it's still really soft. And I want it to be fairly firm.
I'm gonna go ahead and put the cheese on this side because at least it's a little less charred. This is American cheese, so that'll melt nicely.
Today I'm using sliced cheddar cheese. Basically, this is when you get your camera out and you start taking pictures of your burger.
For this burger, I'm gonna use some Munster cheese. Now, Munster has a lot of the same melting qualities as American cheese, but it also has a little bit more flavor. I'm gonna let the Munster melt.
My burger is being hugged by my cheese. So let's set this delicious burger. Oh my Lord, have mercy.
So now my cheese is melted. It's not melted totally, but it's gonna continue to cook as I take it out of the pan.
I'm gonna take this off and just check the doneness real quick. If one were to eat this, it would be a little raw in the middle. That burger was burnt on the outside and raw on the inside, so we're gonna go again. I'm turning this on, much less hot than before. Butter, burger. Yeah, I think that's a cooked burger.
And now we're gonna get abundance and toppings and finish this burger.
I have the Kaiser roll today. I'm gonna butter it a little bit. I'm actually just toasting this in the griddle.
So I have just a normal white grocery store bun, a hamburger bun.
I like a potato roll. The bun doesn't need any extra fat. The burger has enough for it. Toast it plain.
Now we've got a nicely toasted Kaiser roll. Delicious.
Now we're gonna work on our toppings for the burger.
First off, I have some ketchup. I just like a little bit of moisture underneath the burger. Put a little mayo.
Hello.
All right, so we have mustard on the top. I usually do 3 dill pickle slices.
Fantastic.
As a chef, I like to make my own pickles. I have a fancy French mandolin. This gives the pickles a nice crinkled cut. And we just want to make enough to fill up our jar. Some sprigs of dill, I'm just gonna stuff them into the bottom of the jar. I have a little bit of garlic, add a couple of cloves, and then my spices. Coriander seed, black peppercorns, mustard seed, some little Thai bird chilies. And then I proceed to stuff my cucumbers in. And now I'm gonna take the brine that I made. I get a ladle, and I just fill it with the ladle. And there you go. Put my lid on, it goes right in the fridge. I leave it in the fridge for about a week. I have my burger patty. I'm gonna put it on my bun. I have the pickles that I made.
Bib lettuce.
That's a nice slice of lettuce right there.
Tomatoes.
I only like a few pieces of raw onion.
I kind of like a lot of it. Oh boy, my bacon. That looks good. And then some ketchup.
Not a ton. I just want enough so that it adds a little sweetness to my burger.
I'm just gonna press it all together. Bam.
Boom.
Beautiful.
It looks good.
It smells fantastic.
What I like most about this burger is it's not complicated. And now for the best part, I get to eat it.
Oh my Lord.
It's just delicious.
We have 3 different chefs and 3 very different cheeseburgers, from the bun, the beef, and the toppings. But let's talk about the ground beef first. Emily, our first chef, used ground hamburger. Ground hamburger doesn't tell you a whole lot about the beef that you're using.
So this is just the beef that was at the grocery store?
Ground hamburger comes from any skeletal muscular tissue. You won't know specifically where that meat is coming from.
All right.
Lorenzo used ground chuck.
Grass-fed ground chuck.
The ground chuck comes from a really particular part of the animal. It's near the shoulder area. Ground chuck is 80% lean.
trag eu pentru asta.
Da, domnule, doar format.
trag eu pentru asta. Mori, nenorocitule, mori! Mori, nenorocitule, mori!